And ready for me to start?
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome, everyone, to the October 2020 meeting of the California Transportation Commission, Day 1. This meeting is now in session. Douglas, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Alvarado.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Burke.
Here.
Commissioner Davis.
Here.
Commissioner Eager.
Here.
Commissioner Guardino. Commissioner Inman.
Present.
Commissioner Kehoe.
Here.
Commissioner Liu.
Here.
Commissioner Martinez.
Present.
Commissioner Tavoloni.
Here.
Chair Norton.
Present.
Senator Bell.
Here.
Assemblymember Frazier. Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Welcome to the October 2020 CTC virtual meeting. Please note that because this is a two-day meeting, you'll need to use a separate link to attend the meeting tomorrow. The links can be found on the first page of the meeting agenda on our website. Please use the questions tab if you have questions about this. The CTC exists to make transportation planning, funding, and policy more understandable and accountable. Our meetings normally take place in diverse locations around the state so that commissioners can see firsthand the variety of infrastructure issues around California. However, containment measures surrounding COVID-19 have required us to adjust to a webinar format. Please bear with us should we encounter any technical challenges. The Commission's meeting agenda is located under the Handouts tab and can be downloaded and saved during the webinar. It can also be found on the Commission's website. A webinar instructional guide is also located under the Handouts tab and on the Commission's website. If you're experiencing any technical issues with the GoToWebinar system, please contact the Commission staff through the Questions tab or via the CTC email address. For commissioners, should commissioners have any questions or comments during the meeting, please let staff know through the comment tab or via text to Mitch and wait for me to call on you. You can also send inquiries and comments to the Questions tab that can be read to presenters and the audience on your behalf. And please mute your microphone except when you intend to speak to minimize noise and feedback. And I will call each of you in turn and I'll do my best to do so. For presenters, if you are on the agenda to make a presentation, please do your best to be succinct. I hope that you will also turn your camera on during your presentation if you have one. And for the public, we welcome comments from the public. For participants joining us through the GoToWebinar system, please find the webinar panel located on the right-hand side of your screen. There you will find audio, question, and handout tabs. Under the audio tab, attendees will have the choice to listen in via the computer or telephone option. Should you prefer computer audio, please ensure the appropriate box is selected. If you choose the phone call option, select the corresponding box and dial the phone number, access code, and audio PIN as directed by the automated system. Please note that if the audio PIN is not entered, you will remain in listen-only mode and will be unable to speak to the Commission should you have a comment. As a reminder, each registered attendee is provided a unique link and phone number to access the webinar. These cannot be shared with other participants as they are registered to a specific attendee. There are two options for participants to provide comments on agenda items. Using the Questions tab, type in the agenda item number you are commenting on and your comment. Commission staff will read the comment on your behalf. Alternately, you may click on the hand icon to indicate that you wish to make a comment. You will then be unmuted and called upon to make your comment. Please be sure to state your name and affiliation prior to voicing your remarks. Please do your best to be concise with your comments, and also please make sure that your comments add new information. If you agree with the comments of a previous speaker, simply make that statement. Since we often have many speakers, we ask that you make your point in 3 minutes or less. If, for some reason, we have many speakers on a topic, I will reserve the right to limit comments to 1 minute each. And you will not be able to be on camera while making comments. Thank you so much for being part of today's meeting. And with that, Douglas, could you please go through items 2 through 4?
Thank you, Commissioners. Item 2, 3, and 4. Item 2 is the minutes from the August CTC meeting. Item 3 are the minutes from the July 17th joint meeting, of California Air Resources Board and the Department of Housing and Community Development. And item 4 are your meetings for compensation. Staff recommends your approval.
This is Commissioner Alvarado.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Madam Chair, if I can please just abstain.
Commissioner, would you like to make a motion to approve these 3 items?
This is Commissioner Alvarado. I'd like to make
Commissioner
that-
Alvarado, I think I heard you make the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Martinez had a comment.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Martinez. Comment.
Commissioner Martinez, did you have a comment?
Yes, I would like to abstain from,
You're on mute, Commissioner Martinez.
just as out of abundance of caution, I was not a part of the commission at that time.
Thank you, Commissioner Martinez.
Okay, thank you. With that, Executive Director Weiss, it's your item.
We need to call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, please call the roll on this item, these 3 items.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Alvarado,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Commissioner Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Eager,
Aye.
Commissioner Gardino, Commissioner Hinman,
Aye.
Commissioner Kehoe,
Aye.
Commissioner Liu,
Aye.
Commissioner Martinez, you have abstained. Commissioner Tabelloni, Commissioner Tabelloni,
Aye.
thank you. Chair Norton,
Aye.
Madam Chair, the motion is approved.
Okay, thank you. And now I will turn it over to Executive Director Mitch Weiss.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. There are a few events that I've attended since the last Commission meeting that I wanted to mention. On September 4th, the Commission's Road Charge Technical Advisory Committee met virtually and heard an update from Caltrans on the research they've been conducting, including a study of how disadvantaged communities perceive the road charge. This study reaffirmed previous findings. There is a low awareness of how transportation is funded, and there's a need for more education on what the road charge is and why the state can't just keep raising the gas tax. On October 10th, I presented at the California Foundation on the Environment and the Economy's annual conference, along with Secretary Kim and Michael Quigley from the Alliance for Jobs. We talked about transportation funding since the passage of SB 1. I let them know about the work the Commission and our partners have done to make sure SB 1 funds are being put on projects expeditiously and to ensure accountability for taxpayers. I also highlighted the importance of our competitive programs in meeting state transportation goals and emphasized the need to keep working on the road charge as a way to make our transportation funding system more sustainable. Looking ahead, Commission staff continue to work with CalSTA on the governor's executive orders to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from the transportation sector. CalSTA recently held a workshop on the N1919 Action Plan for Transportation Investments. And now that the governor has issued Executive Order N79-20 to require new auto sales to be zero emissions by 2035, this heightens the need for zero emission infrastructure. The Commission will hear a briefing on these efforts at our November 4th joint meeting. On November 12th, Commission staff recommendations for the Local Partnership Program, Solutions for Congested Corridors Program, and the Trade Corridor Enhancement Program will be released. These programs will be adopted by the Commission at our December meeting. As has become the norm, the Commission has received an unprecedented amount of competitive program applications, particularly with the Active Transportation Program. This cycle, we've received over 450 applications requesting more than 5 times the available funding for this program. We have been continuing to work on the Commission's annual report to the legislature, which we will bring forward for adoption at the December Commission meeting. Unfortunately, given the ongoing pandemic, the December meeting will not be in Riverside, but will instead be online. For the 2020 meeting schedule, I have a couple of updates. The tentative dates we have for the joint meetings with HCD and CARB are April 8th and November 4th. We'll put these on your calendars once they're confirmed. I have a few staffing updates. Kieran Parmar has joined the Commission's planning team for a 6-month rotation. Kieran is an associate transportation planner and comes to us from Caltrans's Office of Freight Planning. Kieran will be assisting the Commission's efforts related to equity and public engagement. I'd also like to thank James Anderson, who has been on loan to the Commission for several months. And I really appreciate his effort in helping us and our engineering team while we've been shorthanded. Staff is working on filling the vacancies created by the retirement of Garth Hopkins. Laura Pennebaker has been selected to be the acting planning deputy while we fill this position. We're also working through the impending retirements of Terry Anderson and Dawn Chesser. Dawn will be taking some time off following this meeting. We'll be back in the new year to help us with the transition. And Terry will be retiring in December. Our goal is to fill these positions as quickly as possible to ensure a smooth transition. Lastly, I'd like to thank and acknowledge Senator Bell. We're working on a gift to thank him for his service. I think we have a picture of what it's going to look like. We haven't got it finished. I think this doesn't quite do it justice. I think this is about 2 feet tall, so we hope to get that wrapped up pretty shortly. As everybody here knows, the senator's efforts have been invaluable to transportation in California, and the work he has done will be felt and will be appreciated for many decades. I know, having been working in transportation for a couple of decades, I certainly didn't think we would be seeing a gas tax increase in my career. And so it's thanks to the efforts of Senator Bell and also Assemblyman Frazier and many hard votes and courageous votes that were taken in the legislature that we're able to be in a much better situation. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, did you have anything that you want to say? I have Commissioner Alvarado who'd like to speak.
I would, on behalf of the people of California, I'd like to thank Senator Bell for his service, but especially representing labor, the building tradesmen and women of California. I can honestly say, and thank you, Senator Bell, no other person has put more people to work and will put more people to work than SB1s. We really appreciate your efforts and would like to thank you for all of your hard work. And obviously, don't be a stranger. Thank you.
Commissioner Liu, I'd like to recognize you.
Sure, and congratulations to Senator Bell. That's a very nice plaque, and 2 feet tall is impressive. But Executive Director Mitch Weiss, I think that I might have missed it, but on November 4th, when we have our joint meeting with the Air Resources Board and Housing and Community Development, we are going to discuss the governor's executive order on climate, transportation, and zero emission vehicles, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, because it's not on today's agenda, but I wanted to make sure we'll be discussing that. Thank you.
Chairman Norton.
Yes, Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo Commissioner Alvarado's comments to the senator and just add in from our organization's perspective, when this state needed a champion, someone with some guts and some fortitude to stand up and do what needed to be done, the senator was there. And as Mitch said in his comments, for decades to come, Californians will be benefiting from his firm, steady hand. So thank you, Senator.
And I too wanted to add my voice to the commendations for Senator Bell. Your vision and the focus that you had on making sure that we had investments in our infrastructure, and especially our freight. During this COVID pandemic, that infrastructure helped keep people alive, and our ability through the ATP programs under SB1 to create new bike lanes and new active transportation is the way we were able to survive this horrific year. And your vision and the footprints you are leaving on infrastructure planning and financing will be felt for generations to come. And I just wanted to thank you for creating our generation's WPA and investing properly in a state of good repair in a state that needs so much work, and yet you have made sure that we could fund that properly. And I just want to thank you for all of the work that you did and Assemblymember Frazier did to make sure that this got passed and that this also survived the Prop 6 attempts. We needed this money and we'll continue to need it, and we thank you for your vision, sir. Commissioner Inman, I'd like to call on you now.
Well, as they would say in San Jose, where Senator Bell is from, +1 is how the technology folks would add theirs. So I too just want to lean in and say thank you. It's been amazing, and what I especially have enjoyed is his personality and sense of commitment to the state and his sense of humor. So Senator Bell, thank you so much for all of your service.
Okay. I believe we're trying to get Commissioner
Chair Norton,
Gardino on. So yes, Commissioner Kehoe, please.
just a quick word of congratulations and best wishes to Senator Bell. Jim, of course, you did an outstanding job with SB1, and we were all witness to that over a very long period of time. But I also want to commend you for all your service in the Assembly and the Senate as well, where your values and empathy for so many Californians in need really inspired so many of your colleagues. So thank you for your service.
Yvonne Burke, and I want to just join in saying that it's really been my pleasure working with you. And thank you for your years of service, your humor, and your participation and the changes you've made in the state of California.
Thank you, Commissioner Burke. I'd like to also recognize Commissioner Gardino.
Chair Norton, thank you. And Senator Bell, I don't see your picture on the screen. I hope you are smiling. I think of our 3.5 decades of friendship, partnership, and stewardship in our region and our state, and it is so tangible. Thank you for your leadership to bring BART to Silicon Valley, your leadership to electrify and expand Caltrain commuter rail service in the 3 peninsula counties, your work on Senate Bill 1 with Assemblyman Frazier and your colleagues and Governor Brown will be a lasting legacy that serves the 39 million residents of our state forever. And the way in which you always conducted yourself to build bridges rather than burn them down. I'm going to miss working so closely with you on these challenges, as I know my commissioner colleagues will as well. But thank you for what you've done to leave our community and California a better place for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Commissioner Gardino. I also wanted to say to Senator Bell that I will be sending you one of these CTC masks personalized for you, as I have made one for every single one of the commissioners and CTC staff, which you will be getting soon. So I want to thank you and offer you the opportunity to say some remarks, Senator Bell.
Just thank you, everybody. I think we want to see SB1 repeated at a national level. Hopefully after the election it will be, so that we can have the federal government put up their fair share of funds after the state of California taxpayers have done with SB1, and the local governments have done with their sales tax measures. So the local governments have put up their money, the states now put up their money. Let's make sure the federal government puts up their money, and they haven't done so for quite a long time. So, and I want to thank everybody for all the hard work that you're doing to make sure that SB1 projects are on schedule and on budget. And we gave the commission and SB1 a responsibility to the performance of the SHOP program and make sure the money was spent wisely. And, you've done a great job on that, and keep it up, and don't let up on that particular aspect that you have as a responsibility. So thank you very much for honoring me. 2 feet, it's 2 feet high. Is that what you said?
I believe the exact measurement is 28 inches.
Ask my wife where I'm going to put it now in the house. I have a fish on the wall, a striped bass on the wall that I caught. She's been trying to get me to take it off the wall. Maybe I'll take that off and put the SB1 thing on the wall in my office now at my home. So maybe that'll give her an excuse to get rid of the fish that she's been trying to get rid of for the last 25 years of our marriage. So, okay. Thank you very much, Hillary, and all the commissioners, and keep up the good work. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Mitch, does that conclude your report?
Yes, that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Now, this is listed as an action item. Do we need to take an action?
No action is required.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll move on to my report. And so first and foremost, I would like to welcome our new CTC Commissioner, Michelle Martinez. Congratulations on your very first meeting as CTC Commissioner. Would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For those of my colleagues that I have not met, I look forward to meeting you all. I know with this pandemic, we can only do virtual, and I just want to share with the onboarding process with the staff and Mitch. You guys have done an exceptional job, and I just look forward to working with all of you to move California forward in our different goals and strategies. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, welcome on behalf of all of us. Next, I'd like to show you a couple of events that have taken place since our last meeting. First, we have some photos from a tour of the Gerald Desmond Bridge that AECOM led, AECOM Shimmick, and this is Commissioner Lucy Dunn and Fran Inman and myself with Timothy Morier of AECOM and Shimmick. And then next, I went to Dearborn, Michigan to test the EV Mach-E by Ford. And on the very same day, Governor Newsom was signing his EV executive order on the very same vehicle, very same color. We also toured the automated vehicle parking demonstration, which is a partnership with Ford, Bosch, and Bedrock, and look forward to seeing if they will make the same demonstration in California. In addition, we were given a wonderful tour, many of my colleagues and I, for the Gerald Desmond Bridge, led by Caltrans District 7 Director John Belinsky. Pictured here are John Belinsky and Commissioners Martinez, Gardino, Liu, Inman, and I on a beautiful sunny day at the opening of the Gerald Desmond Bridge, which officially opened to vehicles on October 5th. Next, I went to Sandag and toured the issues related to the Del Mar Bluffs, and I was able to speak at events related to the Mid-Coast Trolley and the MTS extension to San Diego State and the VA, and toured that with Supervisor and CARB Commissioner Nathan Fletcher. And I wanted to give Commissioner Kehoe an opportunity to talk about what's going on with the Del Mar Bluffs and some of the fencing issues. So Commissioner Kehoe.
Thank you, Chair Norton. I appreciate the opportunity to comment. I just want to say that the North County Transit District, which owns the rail through Del Mar and operates some of the trains and allows the others, is contemplating moving to fence the right-of-way for safety issues and insurance purposes. It's become something of a controversy. Crossing the Del Mar tracks is a very old habit, whether it's good or bad. I'm not going to comment right now, but surfers and others have been doing it for generations. So the cities along the route are dealing directly with NTDC, as is the Coastal Commission. So it is a fluid situation. I'm very glad Chair Norton was down there. Hassan Ikrada is also on it. So everyone's talking to everyone. Hopefully we'll move forward with some good creative solutions. Thanks, Hillary, for coming down to visit.
Absolutely. And Hassan Ikrada definitely gave us a very great tour and mentioned your stalwart work, Commissioner Kehoe and Secretary Kim, on making sure that there is a solution for the Del Mar Bluffs, as with the local agencies and Caltrans. So thank you very much for your leadership.
One more item, Hillary. Next Tuesday, the LOSAN working group will meet via webinar. This is virtually an all-agency group, including Congressman Levin, Senator Tony Atkins, Congressman Scott Peters, et cetera, local, state, and federal transportation, not just agencies, but interested parties are working on moving beyond phases 5 and 6, which are upcoming, and looking at long-term solutions. You can see from the photos how close the right-of-way is to the edge of the bluff. We're going to be moving to many more trains starting next year, not to mention in future years. So the LOSAN working group, headed up by Secretary Kim, is a very important effort. He's doing a great job.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Commissioner Kehoe. And next, I wanted to highlight that October 7th was California Clean Air Day. And here is a sign of the freeway sign that Caltrans put up. And I want to commend Executive Director Mitch Weiss for sending out a letter on behalf of the CTC supporting California Clean Air Day. And there's nobody better to speak about the achievements of California Clean Air Day than our Commissioner Joe Liu. Dr. Liu heads the California, oh, I'm sorry. Dr. Liu, sorry, go ahead, please.
Yeah, it's, thank you, Chair Norton. Clean Air Day was a tremendous success, and Coalition for Clean Air and I would like to thank CTC, Chair Norton, Caltrans, and the many public transit agency supporters and everyone else who played a role in making it the most successful Clean Air Day ever. Just in terms of background, this is an event that's hosted by Coalition for Clean Air, and it allows people, businesses, agencies, organizations an opportunity to do at least one thing, make a pledge and do at least one thing for clean air on the first Wednesday in October. And this year we estimate that 1.5 million people took at least one action for clean air on October 7th, and collectively they took more than 3 million individual actions for clean air. I personally swapped out some very dirty air filters from cars in my home furnace. I worked from home and I consolidated my online purchases. Those are the kind of things we're asking people to do for Clean Air Day. Chair Norton provided a letter of support and posted a video of herself taking public transit on a train. And Caltrans used these signs to promote Clean Air Day statewide, and had 574 staff members make the Clean Air Day pledge, which was among the most of any participating organization. So we calculate that Clean Air Day made 5.9 million social media impressions. And so it was a great success. Thank you for everyone for supporting it. Clean Air Day in 2021 is coming up on October 6th. So please mark your calendar, and we look forward to doing it again.
Chair Norton, if I may, I just want to thank Commissioner Liu for the leadership he provides through his day job on something that is so important and so measurable as well. I know he, in a positive way, challenged all of us in my day job at Bloom Energy We had an inaugural employee town hall with our CEO and founder and the mayor of San Jose, the 10th largest city in America. More than 200 California employees participated because of what Joe Liu and his team put together. It was an amazing success built on the foundation that you laid, Joe, and thank you for that.
Thank you, Commissioner Gardino.
And Dr. Liu, I just wanted to say, I apologize. I worked for a different CCA and suddenly my 4 o'clock in the morning wake up time got to me. The Coalition for Clean Air was an extremely important leader in this. And I just want to thank you for the Coalition for Clean Air's continuous leadership in this regard. So my apologies, Commissioner Liu.
Thank you. No, understood. There's a lot of CCAs out there nowadays, especially in the energy. I would also, if it's okay with the chair, like to mention that I would like your support in adjourning this meeting today for my friend Pete Price, who was killed in a bicycle accident at the end of September. Can I talk to that? Thank you.
Yes, we will, but we will adjourn on Thursday for Pete
Right,
Price.
at the end of this meeting.
Talk to it now, but we will adjourn tomorrow for him. Yes.
Pete was more than just a friend of mine. When I went to work at the California League of Conservation Voters Education Fund in the year 2000, Pete was our contract lobbyist. And so he worked for me as a lobbyist. And then he took the job as the environmental guru for Assembly Speaker John Perez. So I ended up going to the Capitol and lobbying him. And then a few years later, he went to work for Waste Management, and I had been appointed by Governor Schwarzenegger to serve on the South Coast Air Quality Management District Governing Board, and he came and lobbied me. So we went over that strange sort of set of relationship circumstances and had a great laugh over it. And no matter what Pete's role, professionally or otherwise, he was an honest broker, a problem solver, and an all-around wonderful person. He was also a very passionate bicyclist. And I looked it up. The latest statistics we have are in 2018, 155 bicyclists were killed in California. So Pete's death was a tragic event, and we should use it to remind us of the importance of keeping bicycle safety at the head of our agenda whenever we do our work here at CTC. And I appreciate the fact that you're allowing us to adjourn in his memory and honor. Thank you.
Absolutely, Commissioner Liu.
This is Kehoe again. Just let me second Joe's words. I worked with Pete my whole 12 years in the legislature. He was a delightful person, smart, strategic, but always respectful and kind. He was one of the people walking into the office. It was never a tense moment. I was shocked, Joe. I didn't realize that he had passed away, and so I'm glad you brought it up. He deserves to be remembered. He really made great contributions to California. So I'll remember him. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Kehoe. And with that, are there any other commissioners who'd like to present as part of commissioner reports? Or if not?
Chair Norton, I just want to build on what Commissioner Kehoe and Commissioner Liu just said about our friend Pete Price. I served with Pete. I've been on the executive board of the California League of Conservation Voters for 12, 15 years now. Both Pete and his daughter Jenna served through that capacity for years, leading our state to an and culture of the environment and the economy, never an or culture, that he did with such grace and such thoughtfulness. He will be sorely, sorely missed.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Gardino. With that, we're going to move to item 7, and that is our presentation from CalSTA Secretary David Kim.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and hello to all commissioners, commission staff, and members of the public. I'd also like to add my thanks and congratulations to Senator Bell for a truly distinguished career in the legislature, but also before his time in the legislature. Senator, I don't know if you remember, but we met about 20 years ago when you were on the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors. We met in DC. You were on one of your advocacy trips, and that's where we met. So we go back a long ways. thank you for your incredible leadership. The legacy you leave in the world of transportation is just magnificent. You will be greatly missed, and I will miss appearing before your committee. And thank you for the honor to work with you and to appear for your committee over the past year and a half since I've been in this role. I want to begin by welcoming Michelle Martinez to her inaugural commission meeting. Commissioner Martinez and I first met a few years ago when she was on the Santa Ana City Council, and we also spoke on a panel together. I think it might have been at the Mobility 21 Summit. So it's great to have Commissioner Martinez join us, and given her many years of experience in local government, including serving as a board member of SCAG, I know she's going to be a great asset to the commission and will bring invaluable perspectives in the years ahead. I also want to note that the commission will receive an update shortly from the U.S. Department of Transportation on the National Freight Strategic Plan, which came out just a few weeks ago. This is a very familiar plan, having worked on a previous version of it during my time in Washington. And I just want to acknowledge two of my former U.S. DOT colleagues who will present to us, David Wanneberg, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Transportation Policy, and Ryan Endorf, economist in the Office of the Secretary. Both David and Ryan were instrumental in developing the plan, and I look forward to hearing what I believe will be a very informative presentation. I also wanted to briefly touch on the governor's recent executive order on climate change, which came out exactly a month ago. Transportation is prominently mentioned in the executive order, and not just on zero emission vehicles, which is obviously a centerpiece of the executive order, but it also underscores the importance of doing everything we can to encourage mode shift and reduce VMT. There is wide recognition that even as we accelerate deployment of zero emission vehicles, we're not going to meet our climate goals unless we also go all out in terms of advancing bike and pedestrian infrastructure, complete streets, transit, micro-mobility solutions, and pricing strategies. In other words, vehicle technologies alone will not do it. It also has to include strategies to expand travel options and reduce our dependence on driving, especially solo driving. Also, just yesterday, I want to mention that we held a very successful stakeholder workshop to get public feedback on the proposed Climate Action Plan for Transportation Infrastructure, or CAPTI as we call it. And that is connected to the first climate change executive order, N1919, which came out in September of 2019. And I want to thank everyone who attended that workshop, and for those who shared their perspectives. Many of them are here today, and the input we heard yesterday will help shape and refine the action plan. Also, as noted earlier, the Commission will receive an update on this effort during the joint CTC-CARB HCD meeting on November 4th, so stay tuned, there is much more to come. A quick word on broadband. My colleague Lori Pepper, who serves as our Deputy Secretary for Innovative Mobility Solutions, will update you on Executive Order N7320 and the Governor's Broadband for All initiative. CalSTA is a member of the California Broadband Council, and we've been working with various departments and agencies to begin implementing the executive order. One of the directives in that executive order is for CalSTA and the Commission to install conduit and/or fiber as part of transportation projects along strategic corridors. And I think one of the points of the executive order is that transportation can and should be part of the solution in terms of expanding broadband access, especially to underserved communities. So I'm looking forward to Lori's update and think you'll find it informative. And speaking of underserved communities, you might recall that I released a statement on racial equity, justice, and inclusion back in June. One of my highest priorities is to put California on a path toward building a more inclusive and equitable transportation system. So I'm really pleased that over the past few months, Commission staff, along with Caltrans and CalSTA, have been coordinating closely to expand staff training and also identify policy opportunities to improve transportation equity. You're going to get an update today from my colleague Avital Barnea, Deputy Secretary for Transportation Planning, along with Jeannie Ward-Waller from Caltrans and Bridget Driller of the Commission. I'm looking forward to their presentation, as well as the opportunity for the Commission to learn more about our coordinated focus on equity. A real quick word on the California Integrated Travel Project, also known as CAL-ITP. As you probably know, the purpose of CAL-ITP is to completely overhaul the transit experience, to make it simpler, better, and more convenient. And I'm glad to mention that in just a few weeks, Monterey Salinas Transit will be the first transit agency in California to have a contactless payment option for trips. And this is being done through a partnership with Visa and Caltrans. So the way it's going to work is riders will simply tap their credit, debit, or prepaid card or payment-enabled device like a smartphone on readers that are installed on buses. There will no longer be a need to purchase or load a separate transit card or handle cash while boarding. And this goes for local residents and visitors alike. Everyone will have the same seamless payment experience, and it'll be fast and convenient for all. Also, Monterey Salinas Transit will be the first agency in California to be able to verify eligibility for certain passenger fare discounts based on age, disability, income, and veteran status. So it's going to be really exciting to see the demonstration project get underway. And in the not too distant future, I think we're going to be in a position to deploy the technology throughout the state on all transit systems. So I want to congratulate the entire CAL-ITP team for reaching this important milestone. Also, we continue to be focused on emergency response activities related to wildfire season, PSPS, and with COVID-19, the possibility of a fall surge. The governor just announced the formation of the COVID-19 Scientific Safety Review Work Group, and the purpose of this group is to independently review the safety and efficacy of any vaccine that receives FDA approval for distribution. And at the same time, the California Department of Public Health is leading an interagency task force to plan for the distribution of a COVID-19 vaccine. We are involved in that effort, and once a safe and effective vaccine is developed, it will likely be transported in limited quantities, point to point, from the manufacturer to pre-selected distribution locations. And as you've probably heard in the media, the initial allocation of vaccines will need to be prioritized for healthcare workers, first responders, and other vulnerable populations until the vaccine can be made available to the general public. My team and I will continue to be involved in these discussions, and as vaccine distribution efforts expand, CalSTA departments, including Caltrans and CHP, will likely be involved in planning and doing tabletop exercises to support what will be a massive logistical undertaking. And finally, thanks to Commissioner Kehoe for mentioning Del Mar Bluffs and the Losan Working Group. As she noted, we have an upcoming meeting next week. We are nearing the end of our 1 year's worth of meetings as a working group, and we hope to be able to issue a final report at the end of this year or in early 2021 to outline some recommendations both for short-term and long-term solutions to the situation at the Del Mar Bluffs. So thank you, Commissioner Kehoe, for mentioning that. And so with that, Chair Norton, that concludes my remarks. Thank you for the time, and I look forward to today's meeting.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your leadership. And seeing no comments, I will move on to our report from Caltrans Director Tokes Omashakin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, CTC staff, and fellow transportation leaders and members of the public, thank you for the opportunity to provide a brief update report on recent events at Caltrans. Next slide. As I've been doing over the last 3 meetings, CTC meetings, I want to recognize one of our exceptional employees at the department. This meeting, I want to recognize Hannah Dergham. Hannah Dergham is one of our area construction managers who's an expert on the design build delivery method. Her proficiencies in this alternative delivery process has earned her great respect in the engineering industry. Most recently, her expert abilities and problem-solving skills were key in the first-rate completion of the $1.5 billion Gerald Desmond Bridge replacement project. The project didn't start off so smoothly. The project started in 2012, as many of you may know. I faced lots of challenges along the way, but in 2019, when Hannah was added to the project team, her quality work, integrity, and ability to keep all players informed helped to make this project an incredible success. Her work ethic, her purposeful skill sets, and commitment to the quality work in our workplace have resulted in providing all Californians an honest, reliable, safe, and efficient transportation system. In the words of Hannah's supervisor, Rich Foley, Hannah is a true civil servant. Caltrans is proud to call Hannah our own. So I want to thank Hannah for all her great work on helping to deliver the Gerald Desmond Bridge project. That is truly an iconic project that not only is now and will serve as a great access point for people and freight, but the rest of the nation as well. So thank you, Hannah, and the team that worked on this project. Next, I want to move to the next slide. Yeah, just to continue along the same lines. I know Chair Norton, you mentioned this, and Secretary Kim mentioned this as well. On October 2nd, I was proud to participate in the opening of the Gerald Desmond Bridge project in the Port of Long Beach. I want to repeat my thanks to the Port of Long Beach local agencies that were involved, FHWA, the District 17, and of course, the CTC. As I said on that day, the project provides tens of thousands of jobs. It will provide for one of the second busiest ports in the United States, and will provide significant economic impact to our state and the rest of the country. I'm also very pleased that the bridge provides multimodal transportation access. Not only will, as you can see in this picture on the right, will you be able to walk and bike across the bridge, but this bridge also improves cargo access and freight access that will be traveling on the waterways there. So very excited at the multimodal access that this bridge provides. It's indeed a great project. I would also like to specifically thank John Belinsky. John Belinsky, our District 7 Director, is retiring. This is his very last CTC meeting. I know he's a good friend to many of you. John's had a great career with Caltrans. He's had more than 37 years of service, 37 years to the department. In District 7, he was responsible for an annual construction program of more than $2 billion to the fifth largest economy in the world. He was also, some of you may not notice, but he was also our District 8 Director and our District 2 Director. We will miss John. Congratulations to him in his retirement. He will get the opportunity to speak to you during public comment either today or tomorrow, but I want to thank John in the 1 year I've been here. Relied on him for very, very important feedback and input, and he's done a great job of leading District 7. So I want to thank him for his service. And so on to more personnel announcements very, very briefly. I'm pleased to announce the appointment of Shalane Hunter as the first Caltrans Assistant Director for Equal Employment Opportunity. So we've had EEO responsibilities before in the department, but never at the level of the Assistant Director role. So I want to congratulate her on her recent appointment as our Assistant Director for Equal Employment Opportunity. She has more than 15 years of experience on a broad range of diversity initiatives, most recently as a consultant on civil rights laws for the Department of Fair Employment and Housing. And secondly, I want to announce the permanent appointment of Dee Lamb as the Division Chief of Local Assistance. Dee has served as the Acting Division Chief of Local Assistance for the last 7 months. And prior to her acting assignment, she served as the Management Liaison to the Planning and Modal Programs Deputy Director. So I want to congratulate Dee as well, Dee Lamb, on her recent appointment as the Division Chief of Local Assistance, a very important role to the department as well. Congratulations both to Chalonay and to Dee in these new roles. Next, I want to mention, if you could go back to the slides, I want to mention the fires that Secretary Kim mentioned. In mid-August, as we all know, California experienced extreme heat events with record-breaking temperatures, and lightning and wildfire sieged many places throughout the state. More than 20 separate fires have directly impacted an estimated 300 miles of the state highway system. Caltrans districts statewide mobilized immediately for emergency response to offer mutual aid to other state and local agencies during these emergency situations. The work included emergency traffic control, evacuation planning, debris and hazard tree removal, and staffing emergency operation centers. We coordinated with CHP, CAL FIRE, and local agencies to minimize road closures, and in some cases to open routes to two-way traffic to allow residents to repopulate barren areas as safely and as soon as we could. The department continues to coordinate with CAL FIRE and U.S. Forest Service teams to make fast repairs and mitigate state highway system vulnerability before the winter storms hit. The concern moving forward are mudslides caused by damaged slopes and embankments across the state. Next slide. Next, I want to talk about SB 743 and its implementation. Caltrans has posted 2 documents on our SB 743 implementation website. They are called the TAF and the TAC. TAF, Transportation Analysis under California, under CEQA, and the TAC, Transportation Analysis Framework. Both documents provide Caltrans the policy along with guidance for implementing VMT analysis and VMT impacts under CEQA consistent with the statute. The new processes implemented through Caltrans' environmental program are key for Caltrans' increasingly important work to confront the challenge of climate change, building more livable communities, and reducing emissions of greenhouse gases. This effort has not been done without significant outreach. We hosted 130 meetings with stakeholders, provided 60-day informal feedback, met with NPOs, counties, environmental coalitions, and agencies engaged UC Berkeley on several technical aspects of getting these documents ready. I want to thank our partners and stakeholders as well for their involvement and contributions that have helped shape these documents. I look forward to working with all of you to further our commitment to provide more transportation options to Californians and reduce our dependence on driving. Next slide. Better utilizing investment to leverage development, also known as build grants. Many of you are aware that in September, California received a federal award of $36 million for 2 projects. The awards come from the US DOT, and the 2 projects are first, you see on your left, the Stockton Diamond Grade Separation Project, a $237 million rail separation project, rail grade separation project, I should say, in the city of Stockton. It received $20 million to support that $237 million project. And the project on the right was State Route 99, State Route 99 Commercial Avenue Interchange Project. It's a $53 million project that received $16 million to complete that work. I want to congratulate the San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission, UP, Union Pacific Railroad, and Burlington National Santa Fe Railway, Tulare County Association of Governments, and the City of Tulare. Thank them for their partnership and congratulate them on the awards on this project and getting $36 million in additional transportation funds to the state. Next slide, the August redistribution. California received more than $493 million in additional transportation funding from the Federal Highway Administration annual August redistribution. It's $500 million roughly. I want to thank Vince, who I know will be speaking in a few minutes, for his partnership and support and helping to make this happen as well. But each year, certain federal transportation funding remains unspent before important deadlines. Those funds revert to a federal pool and are redistributed to states like California that have completed all requirements and are prepared to use the additional federal funds before the end of the federal fiscal year. This year, the federal pool totaled about $4.7 billion, of which California received more than 10% of the total, more than any other state in the country. Caltrans will receive $312 million of the $493, and local transportation agencies will receive $181 million out of this money. It is important to note that while this is new funding, most of the projects that will receive the August redistribution funding are already allocated by the CTC and are underway using state dollars until this federal money becomes available. However, it's quite an accomplishment that the state received more than 10% of the national total of the federal August redistribution. Every year, we at Caltrans pride ourselves on being one of the states that can use these federal funds other states cannot. And as you can see from this graphic, this is the most amount of money our state has ever received in the August redistribution. So congratulations to all who worked on this and will receive benefits from this additional funding. Next, safety. Next slide. So part of our 5 priorities is, as many of you know, is safety. In January of 2020, we established a new division of safety program and established a chief safety officer position. Rachel Carpenter was appointed to that very important position. We established a sense of urgency around safety and committed to 4 pillars to guide our new safety paradigm. And as you can see from this graphic, doubling down on what works, accelerating advanced technology, leading a safety cultural change, a culture of safety, and integrating equity. These are our 4 pillars of safety. We've established a new system for traffic safety policy in this area, in the area of wrong-way driving, pedestrian safety, and pavement markings and striping. We're also making substantial progress implementing all the recommendations from CalSTA's Zero Traffic Fatalities Task Force findings, which include strategies to reduce speeding related fatalities. We continue to improve our highway safety improvement program, our strategic highway safety plan, focusing not only on improving traffic safety, but also collaborating with federal, state, and local private sector stakeholders to continue to establish statewide goals, objectives, and challenge areas. We're looking at how to improve on these products even more by expanding membership and including an equity lens in all the work that we do, but in particular this area. So I want to thank everybody involved for their continued focus in this area. Commissioner Liu and Commissioner Gardino and several members of the commission mentioned the loss of a friend, Pete, who was killed in a bicycling accident. We need to do our very best, all of us, commissioners, CTC, Caltrans, CalSTA, and CHP as well. We need to continue to do our best to highlight the importance of safety. It's very unfortunate that we continue to lose people at the rate that we're losing them on our transportation system. Unfortunately, last night, we lost a Caltrans contractor in the LA area on the 110 in a hit and run accident. It's very, very unfortunate and sad situation that these kinds of incidents continue to happen. we have to continue to make this our top priority in highlighting the importance of safety, so we don't continue to lose people, our loved ones, as we have. The next slide. Next, and I believe this is my final slide. Conversation on equity is something that I've started. Secretary Kim, rather, I know commissioners as well are very involved in our efforts to highlight the importance of equity in all of our work. I recently started a series of discussions with the Caltrans team to discuss equity within a department. 3 things that will be a part of the dialogue are people, program and projects, and our partnerships. And I've actually added a 4th P to this. We've added a 4th P to this that we will talk about at a future date. But to talk about these very quickly, the first P, our people, we must have a workforce that is very representative of the people who live in the state, and at every level, entry level within the department, all the way up to the executive level. We should make sure that those opportunities are there for people to be employed by Caltrans through an equity lens. From a projects and program standpoint, we must transform lives and understand the mistakes of the past, and we must be intentional about bringing positive impacts to those communities that we've had detrimental impacts on in the past. And finally, in the area of partnership, we must work with our sizable resources to provide more opportunities to small businesses and opportunities for a diverse group of individuals, not just one specific group or business entity to be a part of the resources that we provide. These P's will be a focus on these conversations that I've started having. If you're not aware of them, they're on YouTube, but they're mostly open to our staff. Caltrans will be talking about Caltrans will be putting metrics behind these P's. The first series of discussions, equity discussions, were done in September with District 4 Director Tony Tavares and District 8 Director Michael Beauchamp. The second series of equity discussions were done with Deputy Director of Planning and Motor Programs Jeannie Wood-Waller and Rihanna Gordon, the manager of our Caltrans Office of Race and Equity. We need to listen to the people of the state that we serve, and these conversations start that process a little bit more internally, and that is why we are moving forward with that. Let me just quickly close with some other quick comments, and then I'll hand it back over to you, Madam Chair. I want to welcome Commissioner Martinez to your very first meeting. I look forward to meeting you in person at some point soon. So welcome to your first meeting. Commissioner Eager, I had a chance to spend some time with you in Fresno last week. Thank you for taking the time and sharing a little bit about what the Central Valley needs from an economic standpoint and transportation standpoint. Thank you for that time. Senator Bell, who likes to start off every conversation with me by reminding me that he's a fellow planner. Thank you, Senator Bell, for your work in service to the state in transit and very much, as Director Weiss said, on SB1. So thank you for the time to provide a brief report on Caltrans. There are many other things that I could highlight and talk about, like the pedestrian safety month that this month is, but I will save that because I know we're past spent on time. I would love to take any questions if there are any questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I just want to thank you, Director Omashakin, and we're looking forward to talking about John Belinsky's 37 years of service as District Director 7 tomorrow during the public comment part. And I want to thank you for the breadth of your work, and given the lateness of the hour, we will move on to the FHWA Division Administrator, Vince Mamano. Thank you. Vince? There you are. Are you unmuted?
All right, now I'm unmuted, I think.
Perfect.
Can you hear me now? Technology, look at me. I'm right on the cusp of it. I'm going to get there. Carl, you're going to see me. I'm going to get there. As I'm sure all of you are wearing pink, being it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I'm colorblind, so I'm just going to assume that all of you are wearing pink, and my shirt is pink also, as far as you know. Couple things. I want to thank David and Tokes for taking most of my talking points. It's very kind of you. That should make mine a lot briefer. Briefer is a new word we're going to use. Congratulations on the Gerald Desmond Bridge opening. What a great, great impact that project's going to have to the entire country. Very complicated project, very complicated area. So congratulations to all the great work and the partnerships that went into that project. Just a great, great testament to what can happen when a group of people work together to get something done. So that was a great experience. The ribbon cutting, the virtual ribbon cutting was pretty cool too. So thank you for the opportunity to speak at that. August redistribution, Tokes talked about that, over $493 million in August redistribution. The thing I need to congratulate you on is that's over 18 states yearly program. So 18 states get less than $493 million, and it takes them all year to do it, to obligate that money, and you get that, and you have to do that in a month. So you were able to obligate over $493 million in a month. That clearly tells you how prepared California is and ready to do the work as soon as funding gets there. So congratulations on that. Couple things from our funding standpoint. The president back at the beginning of this month signed a Continuing Appropriations Act of 2021 and Other Extensions Act. And what that does is that extended the FAST Act a full year. So we have a full year extension of the FAST Act. And then we have an appropriations, that's our funding. FAST Act is our authorization levels, and appropriations is the actual funding, and we've got that through December 11th. So that's great that we had those things in place. The only challenge is the FAST Act is funded at 2020 levels, so there was no increase in the FAST Act funding for that one. They did, however, have a $13.6 billion fund transfer to from the general fund to the Highway Trust Fund, which is a big deal. Last time we talked about where the Highway Trust Fund was, and now we're at $10.4 billion went to the highway account, and $3.2 billion went to the mass transit account. Congratulations also on the 2 build awards there that California received. And I also want to thank David Wonenberg and Ryan Endorf from our Secretary's office. They're going to speak today on the National Freight Strategic Plan. CTC staff reached out to me. Our team reached out to our Secretary's office, and in the first conversation, yes, we would be glad to talk with California on that presentation. So I want to thank them for doing that. Caltrans, just another heads up, I didn't mention this, but they're moving forward virtually with their Innovation Expo the week of November 16th. So that's pretty exciting that they're still trying to find ways to keep that innovation, keeping people throughout their agency learning about what's going on in the agency. And lastly, John Belinsky, congratulations, John, on retiring. Many of us are in the jealousy I'd like to retire category. John and I've met John just in the first 2 weeks that I moved into California over 12 years ago. What a great professional. I still remember his acting assignment in District 8. So the first week he was there, they had major floodings that lifted a bridge off of I-10. So that's the training ground that California has when they add new leaders. So I worry about District 7 because they're going to have a new leader there. I hope they're not going to train them with anything crazy like they did John. But what a great professional, a great friend, a good partner, just somebody that is very trustworthy and just a great advocate for the taxpayers. So I want to congratulate John on a great career with Caltrans, and thanks for being the guy that you are. And I think that is all I have. Any questions for me? Did you see how I got us back on schedule?
Good job, Vince. We do have some questions from you. We want to start with Commissioner Liu.
Thank you, Chair Norton. I just saw that the U.S. DOT Marine Administration Port Infrastructure Development Program awards were announced on October 15th. And I know, given the redistribution of nearly $500 million, I'm going to sound greedy, but I'd like us to figure out how we can help California ports secure additional support from MARAD. And the Port of Los Angeles this round received just under $10 million, but that was dwarfed by what other ports around the country received. And I know it's just 1 year of funding, but the Port of Long Beach and the other California ports received nothing. And when you think just the San Pedro Bay ports alone handle 40% of the imports in the entire country, I think 15% of the exports, you know, it just doesn't seem exactly fair. So I'd like to encourage our staff to work with our California ports and see if US DOT can distribute that port infrastructure development program funds a little more fairly in the future. And Vince, I know you're Federal Highway Administration and not MARAD, but I'm sure you know people, and so please don't retire until you help us out with this, okay?
Actually, I will share. I have a joint office in Southern California. It's kind of a one DOT office. It's Federal Highway Administration, Federal Transit Administration, and Maritime Administration sits in that same office. So I think we can get together with the commission staff just to kind of understand what and help you to understand the lay of the land and how that works, and we'll see if there's any opportunities there.
Great, very much appreciated.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And with no other comments from other commissioners, we're going to move to the regional agencies moderator, Yvonne Garcia.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi again. My name is Yvonne Garcia with the Butte County Association of Governments. At yesterday's statewide RTPA meeting, we learned that Caltrans Local Assistance received about $181 million in August obligational authority redistribution specific to local assistance, but used 157 of the 181 million, thus giving up about 24 million, even though there were local projects that could have used the funding. I believe this is within the totals presented by Director Omashakin. Unfortunately, regional agencies were not contacted early enough to use this available capacity. The regions look forward in working with Caltrans staff to look into this further and develop strategies to help avoid missed opportunities. It's an issue, and we are collectively going to address it moving forward. Regarding the ATP program, like we heard from Director Weiss, to nobody's surprise, there's still a lot of demand for the program. Commission staff provided the regions with a great summary of the applications received with interesting observations that you will likely hear later today. The regions would like to find out what ATP project applications could fit in the scope or spirit of the Shop Complete Streets program efforts. I think we need to discuss this more moving forward to see if there could be a commitment from Caltrans to hopefully fold them into potentially future shop projects. Some of California's highways serve as main streets, and where it makes sense, maybe there are some opportunities there to free up ATP capacity for more projects. Commission staff indicated they would look into it and see what turns up for further discussion. Thank you, Lori, for your report. Director Omashakin, I sincerely appreciate and share your concern and passion for cycling safety. Regarding interim timely use of funds policy, Commission staff informed the regions that the policy was set to expire at the end of the year. Regions request and support an extension of the policy beyond the current expiration date in December to address challenges to many parts of the states due to the recent wildfires. In addition, continued challenges with COVID. I believe this will be presented at the December Commission meeting. Thank you, Teresa, for presenting and informing the RTPAs. Caltrans also presented the Interregional Transportation Strategic Plan, the ITSP. The regions were pleasantly informed that Caltrans has pushed the adoption date to December 2021. The regions appreciate and support the extension to have adequate time to participate in the development process. We would request a draft as early as possible, hoping for July, but we'll see what happens. What's interesting is the timing of adoption in December 2021 for the ITSP is the same time the regions typically adopt the RTIPs for the 2022 STIP cycle. This ITSP therefore would include or influence the 2022 and 2024 STIP cycles. Speaking of ITSP, Caltrans was actually very nice to have an ITSP and CTP workshop on September 4th with the RTPA. So thank you, Caltrans, for that. It was very much appreciated. We were also informed of potential new round of Garvey if there is enough interest in projects that make sense. We appreciate the outreach by commission staff. There may be more agencies that may be interested in funding projects that are programmed in fiscal year 22-23 and outer years and are ready to go. Regions have been requested to reach out to commission staff as soon as possible, like right now, this week. So hopefully that ESSA will get some feedback quick.
Okay.
Lastly, I'm sorry?
Nothing. I thought that you were wrapping up and we have a speaker who wanted to ask a question, a commissioner.
Oh, do you want me to finish?
No, you got to lastly, so yes, please.
Okay, sorry. Lastly, thank you, CalSTA, for hosting the Climate Action Plan for the Transportation Infrastructure CAPTI workshop. RTPAs look forward to providing input. Not all RTPA staff that participate at the commission meeting in this forum or deal with programming were able to participate. However, it was recorded and will be made available. In addition, the PowerPoint presentation has already been distributed. Secretary Kim, please accept this as an open invitation for your staff to join us at future statewide RTPA meetings at any time. Our local RTP SESs address state plans and goals. We want to stay engaged with the development and implementation of the Climate Action Plan. That concludes my report. And actually right behind me here, I don't know if you can see it, is Butte County's RTP SES with the program EIR.
Yes.
5.5 inches thick. Not kidding.
Okay.
Questions?
Well, that sounds like a lot of homework, and we have a question from Commissioner Inman.
Yeah, thank you, and I'll be brief. But Yvonne, can you roll back to your comments about the lack of redistribution? Help me understand that.
You know, thank you for that question, Commissioner Inman. Our RTPA meetings are very quick, and Caltrans had maybe 10 minutes to present, but I think the $493 million presented by Director Amishkin was California as a whole. And within that total, a portion goes to Caltrans local assistance. My limited understanding is $181 million was made available for the local assistance side for projects for the region agencies to advance, for example, CMAQ projects or RSTP or something like that. However, the news came in pretty late and the regions were unable to take advantage of that, leaving $24 million on the table. I do have a commitment from Caltrans staff to let's figure this out, find out, you know, where communication fell apart and work together and throw in some strategies to address it moving forward.
Okay.
So was this year different? Because we've done this before, right?
Correct. It's every year, and California usually does very, very well. I don't know if this has ever happened before, so it actually took us by surprise.
Well, 24 million.
Okay.
So yeah.
Director Weiss would like to respond to this.
Yeah, so we'll ask Caltrans to report. I don't know if they can get that together in time for tab 16 in the budget and allocation capacity item. You know, what becomes of that money? Presumably, if it couldn't be used by the locals, it could be used by the shop. Did the timeline change? Was there something different this year than in the past years? Because we pretty much go through the same thing every year. So if they can get that to us, hopefully by the time we get down to tab 16, that would be great.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for your report. And now we'd like to move on to item 11, the Rural Counties Task Force Chair, Woodrow Deloria.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Chair Norton. I am Woodrow Deloria, Chair of the Rural Counties Task Force and the El Dorado County Transportation Commission. First of all, Senator Bell, on behalf of the 26 rural counties of California, thank you for your service and dedication to transportation across all of California. The rural counties welcome you in your next chapter, and if it's truly been 25 years since you caught a fish worthy of your office wall, I think at least one of our rural counties can help you out with that. The Rural Counties Task Force recently met virtually on September 13th to discuss issues and opportunities facing our 26 rural counties. In addition to the regularly scheduled meeting on September 13th, the RCTF participated in the Senate Bill 743 implementation workshop in partnership with Caltrans to elevate the issues and opportunities facing many of our rural counties with regard to switching to VMT as the CEQA metric. At this September 13th meeting, we also nominated an RCTF representative to your CTC Equity Roundtable. Our members nominated Connie Stewart, who is the Executive Director of the California Center for Rural Policy with Humboldt State University. During the September 13th meeting, we also discussed the Governor's Climate Change Executive Order N1919 and have worked directly with CalSTA and Caltrans staff on the draft investment strategies to provide rural input. And the RCTF members look forward to an opportunity to participate in a similar presentation of these draft strategies to your commission at a future CTC meeting. We received an update on the draft CTP 2050 and provided feedback in a comment letter on the plan to help ensure that the CTP goals and objectives align with and support implementation of the projects and programs contained within our rural transportation plans. We also received an update on and discussed the ITSP development and are looking forward to the update today, included in your agenda under tab 21. Additionally, rural counties have elevated the discussion around affordable access to broadband as we're seeing more and more telecommuting in our rural regions. The demand for broadband expansion in rural counties has always been high, but now we're seeing significant increased demand for affordable access to support the increasing importance of telework, telemedicine, and now more importantly than ever, teleeducation. For these reasons, we're very interested in the discussion today about the Executive Order N7320, included in tab 22 of your agenda. And as we all continue to navigate the many challenges of this long-lasting pandemic, I think it's also important to mention a recent impact facing many of our rural counties. As you know, tourism and recreation serve as the foundation for many rural counties' economic prosperity. This summer and fall have seen increases in visitation and traffic unlike any in recent memory. And while our local economies welcome this revenue with open arms, the increase has impacted our local transportation networks, neighborhood streets and roads, and the quality of life, and in some cases quite severely. Therefore, as we move out of this pandemic toward a renewed prosperity, we ask that you please give consideration to developing programs and policies which provide for those investments in rural transportation infrastructure. Investments in the rural communities not only benefit rural Californians, but the millions of Californians who rely on these rural and interregional transportation networks to access rural counties and their abundance of open space, recreation, and natural environments. And finally, on behalf of all the 26 rural counties, I want to acknowledge the CTC staff who have always been supportive to all of our members. Their willingness to work with our staff directly has really been made clear throughout this incredibly disruptive time. So thank you to all the CTC staff. That concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from commissioners? Okay, seeing none. Thank you so much, Woodrow Deloria, for your great presentation. With that, we're going to move on to item 12, Self-Help Counties Coalition Executive Director Keith Dunn. Keith, we can't hear you. You're muted right now. We can see you, but not hear you. There you go.
Thank you, Commissioner Norton, and welcome to Commissioner Martinez on behalf of the 25 Self-Help Counties Coalitions. I know you've worked closely with OCTA, Daryl Johnson, and his team. We'd like to welcome you to the commission and look forward to working with you. Self-Help Counties has been fairly active in the last month or so. We've had the opportunity to meet with Director Omashakin and to talk about some of the executive orders and obviously the implementation of SB 743, which we're extremely involved with and providing comment, and appreciate the department's willingness to listen to us as we talk about the differences and variations in the regions and our different RTPs and how we are looking to implement our sales tax measures to not only keep the will of the voters, but also to provide that infrastructure that's the state and its citizens rely upon. So we're anxious to continue to participate in that partnership, to continue to deliver those projects, and we appreciate the director's time and his staff's willingness to listen to us as we move forward. We also are scheduled to meet with Secretary Kim at the end of this month. Similar topics, as you know, as everyone on this call knows, we're anxious to see what 2 weeks happens with the federal government, and looking at opportunities to try and identify additional resources, as was mentioned earlier with SB1. Thanks to Senator Bell and his service and his colleagues in the legislature, we now have a matching fund from the state that we can partner with the locals who've had these ongoing plans to build our infrastructure out. So we're hopeful that whatever happens in the election moving forward, that we're going to have a federal partner who's willing to look at investing in our state. We are in the process, as CTP 2050 comment period is closing tomorrow. Self-help counties will be submitting comments on that plan, and I look forward to sharing it with Director Weiss and your CTC staff and any commissioners that would like to see that. Anyway, there's a lot going on in the state between the executive orders and some of the impacts due to COVID, so we are trying to true up some of those numbers. We met with CDTFA Executive Director Nick Maduros and his staff. It's a tax and fee administration for those of us that aren't fully up to date on all of our acronyms. That's even a new one for me sometimes. I have to remember what it is. But we had a very positive meeting with him. We think that the legislature's fix of the Wayfair versus South Dakota decision with Assemblywoman Autumn Burke's legislation really has made a large impact in our ability to capture some of those online sales tax and direct them to the appropriate agencies that in previous years was not being captured. I think it's going to turn out to be, when we look back at COVID, free and clear, one of the things that really stabilized a lot of the economics for general sales tax funded measures. The state's reliance on the gas tax solely, I think those numbers are going to be a little more interesting to dissect as we start looking towards a more remote workforce and fewer people filling up their gas tanks and going to a commercial office space every day. So with that, again, we appreciate the opportunity to provide comments here at this meeting. We look forward to continuing to partner with the commission, and I'm happy to answer any questions that any commissioners might have.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, are there any questions for Keith Dunn? Seeing none, I do want to ask that you copy all of the commissioners on the draft CTP 2050 letter. We would be very interested in seeing what you have to say.
Thank you very much. And before I get a nasty note from my event organizer, I do need to mention that this year's Focus on the Future conference, which is the 31st annual conference, will be a virtual conference, and we hope that all of you can participate. We will look forward to having Executive Director Weiss's update on the commission and looking forward through the year, but it will all be a virtual event this year. We're going to have some great topics, and we always appreciate the CTC's staff's input and participation. So with that, I will say thank you very much.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Okay, next item is the transit operators update. Jeffrey Tillman. Is the presentation queued up? Okay. Great. Thank you. Mr. Timlin, are you on? We can't hear you if you're starting to speak. You need to unmute yourself. Can you try unmuting? Okay. Well, we'll keep working on that, and I think we'll move on to the next item while we're waiting to get this queued up. So if we could hold on item 13 and go to item 14, the National Freight Strategic Plan update. Laura Pennebaker, David Wannenberg and Ryan Endorf.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Tab 14 is an informational item, and I do want to thank Vince Mamano for his assistance in helping us to identify speakers for this item. David Wannenberg and his team have been wonderful to work with. David, unfortunately, is not able to join us today. However, we do have Chief Economist Darren Timothy and Economist Ryan Endorf from the United States Department of Transportation, who are going to provide an update on the recently released National Freight Strategic Plan. So with that, I will turn it over to Darren and Ryan for their presentation.
Thank you, Laura, and want to thank the members of the commission for having us today. Also wanted to say hello to Secretary Kim and others of my former USDOT colleagues now working with him. You are all very fortunate to have such a great team. I also wanted to thank the state of California for your efforts in promoting and supporting the use of economic analysis for transportation project evaluation. California really is a leading state and really done a lot of good work that helps states around the country in pursuing that. Part of my office's responsibilities one of my office's responsibilities is to coordinate multimodal freight policy within the U.S. Department of Transportation. And one of our big activities this last year has been the development of the National Freight Strategic Plan. And so I'd like to turn it over to Ryan Endorf, my office, who led those efforts. Ryan?
Again, good afternoon. Thank you, Darren, for turning this over to me. I'm very excited to talk to you all today about the National Freight Strategic Plan. And I want to thank California and all of your stakeholders for your informative contributions to the development of this plan. Can you move to the next slide, please? So in 2015, as part of the FAST Act, Congress required the department to develop a national freight strategic plan, as well as requiring all the states to develop state freight plans. So the department has developed this plan based on feedback from many public and private freight stakeholders, including many from the state of California. And our state freight plans, including the one that California developed earlier this year in March, were a critical input into the development of this plan. The plan we've developed evaluates the movement of freight and informs infrastructure planning and investments. It provides a framework for increased cross-sector, multi-jurisdictional, and multimodal coordination and partnerships, and it identifies freight data needs to support decision-making. Importantly, we've identified for the first time a freight data strategy that we hope will help guide the development of data and tools, particularly using real-time data that can help inform freight planning and infrastructure decision making. Can you move to the next slide, please? So consistent with the emphasis of the FAST Act and also with the direction of many states are heading, this plan is multimodal. Freight depends on the interaction of every single mode, and so we've ensured that this plan is multimodal and considers all of these and their contributions to the overall freight system. Congress asked us to look at the 4 industries that you can see in the upper right: agriculture, manufacturing, energy, and natural resources. We have identified and looked at each of those in turn in the plan, but we've also not limited ourselves to just those 4. Obviously, retail and e-commerce is particularly important, especially so over the past year with the pandemic. And so we've also focused on the contributions of that sector to the overall freight network. The plan is consistent with the administration's priorities. Safety is, of course, the department's #1 priority, but we've also focused on some other areas, including global competitiveness, industrial productivity, and meeting rural infrastructure needs. Finally, the plan is focused on the federal role for freight. The state freight plans that every state has produced highlight some of the important ongoing work at the state and local levels. And this plan is meant to provide a national vision that can inform state and local freight infrastructure planning and can also inform Congress as it contemplates surface transportation reauthorization. Move to the next slide, please. So before I get into discussing the vision, as I mentioned, we sought significant public feedback to develop this plan, particularly on the major trends and challenges that our freight system faces. And I just want to highlight a couple of those that really informed our thinking. First, e-commerce is leading to rapid changes in supply chains, increasing demand for air cargo, residential deliveries, and reverse logistics. And especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, we've seen how important e-commerce has been for millions of Americans in order to get essential goods, especially groceries, while minimizing physical interaction with others. Second, global supply chains are diversifying and international trade is growing. This is leading to increased congestion at ports, particularly an issue that California is well aware of, several of the nation's largest ports, but also with border crossings. And our aging infrastructure system that connects these trade gateways to the broader transportation system is facing increased strain. Third, as we all know, technology is advancing at a rapid clip, and new technologies and innovations provide great opportunities to change the way freight is being delivered while improving safety and efficiency. And so thinking about how those technologies become integrated into the national freight system, while also training our workforce to be able to have the skills in order to operate these new technologies. And then finally, one of the major things we heard from many public commenters was the need for improved freight data tools, whether it's analysis tools or being able to bring real-time data to the freight planning process. And so as a result, I mentioned we've developed a freight data strategy that can start the conversation of how to better improve freight data going forward. So the vision that we've outlined here is the freight transportation system in the United States will strengthen the economic competitiveness with safe and reliable supply chains that efficiently and seamlessly connect producers, shippers, and consumers in domestic and foreign markets. We've identified 4 major areas for the federal government to take a role in, including modernizing and eliminating regulations that inhibit supply chain efficiency and reduce incentives to innovation while delaying project delivery. Second, to improve cross-sector, multi-jurisdictional, multimodal collaboration to enhance first and last mile connections and intermodal connectivity, particularly multi-state collaboration in terms of the freight planning process. We know that California is a gateway to the nation with the major ports, but many of the states in the interior of the country depend on California and the transportation connections between them. Third, to provide targeted federal resources and financial assistance to effectively participate in the funding of freight projects that provide significant benefits to the national economy. And then fourth, to invest in freight data, analysis tools, and research to enhance the abilities of state, regional, and local agencies to evaluate and address freight issues. Next slide, please. So the 3 strategic goal areas that we've identified are broad, but they're as follows: safety, to improve the safety, security, and resilience of the national freight system; infrastructure, to modernize freight infrastructure and operations to grow the economy, increase competitiveness, and improve quality of life; and third, innovation, prepare for the future by supporting the development of data, technologies, and workforce capabilities that improve freight system performance. Importantly, the U.S. Department of Transportation cannot do this alone. Through this plan, we've identified a framework for the future, and we will depend on our partnerships with states and local governments, with the private sector operators, whether it's railroads, ports and port authorities, trucking companies, as well as the producers and shippers that are moving freight along the network. We'll be looking for opportunities going forward to work with all of you in order to meet these strategic goals. And with that, you can go to the last slide. We have a website here with more information, including links to the plan, as well as our contact info. And with that, I think Darren and I would be happy to take any questions you might have.
Wonderful. We do have public comment on this item. So if we could go to public comment first.
Yes, we have Don Batiste of Sandag. Dawn, you are now unmuted and free to speak.
Thank you very much. Dawn Batiste with San Diego Association of Governments, and we would like to thank you today for the presentation. It is particularly timely given the current SB1 call for projects for the Trade Corridor Program. The Trade Corridor Enhancement Program is a great demonstration of how to leverage local and SB1 funds with federal funds to advance the critical infrastructure and goods movement projects consistent with the National Freight Strategic Plan. In 2018, the San Diego region's GDP was over $245 billion, and two of our most critical freight projects are the advancement of the Low Sand Corridor and completion of the future Otay Mesa East Port of Entry. The Low Sand Corridor is the only viable freight corridor, rail corridor between the San Diego area and the rest of the nation, carrying nearly $1 billion in goods and services every year. And it is designated as a strategic rail line for our country's defense system. We are grateful for our partnerships with the state under Commissioner Kehoe and Secretary Kim's leadership on the stabilization of the Del Mar Bluffs to help ensure the safety and resiliency for this corridor for years to come. Similarly, the future Otay Mesa East Port of Entry is a long-standing partnership project between Sandag and Caltrans. The President of Mexico recently included the project in his infrastructure stimulus package, and we continue to move forward on the construction of State Route 11, implementation of a wait time monitoring system, and the preparation of an investment-grade traffic and revenue study to further efforts at the border. Sandag looks forward to collaborating with USDOT and the state on continuing to move these projects forward and implementing the National Freight Strategic Plan and California Freight Mobility Plan 2020 strategies. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. With that, if there are no comments from the commissioners and no further comments from public comment, we will move on to item 15. Thank you very much for your presentation, gentlemen.
Thank you. Commissioners, tab 15 is an action item to accept the staff report on legislation. August 31st was the deadline for the legislature to pass bills, and September 30th was the deadline for the governor to sign legislation. The staff report provides an update on the final status of bills tracked by staff that passed out of the legislature. Bills signed into law will take into effect on January 1st, unless they were passed on an urgency basis, in which case they already have taken effect. And looking ahead, the 1920 legislative session will be coming to an end on November 30th, and then in December, the new 2-year legislative session for 2020-21 commences. And that concludes my short report. Staff recommends you approve this item, and I'm also happy to take any questions.
Okay, is there any public comment on this item? None? Okay, are there any questions from commissioners? Okay, with that, we will end this item. And we are gonna.
I would make a motion to approve the item, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Commissioner Eager.
Okay, great. Commissioner Eager seconds. Doug, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Alvarado.
Yes.
Commissioner Alvarado, thank you. Commissioner Burke.
Aye.
Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Eager.
Aye.
Commissioner Guardino.
Aye.
Commissioner Inman.
Aye.
Commissioner Kehoe.
Aye.
Commissioner Liu.
Aye.
Commissioner Martinez.
She gives a thumbs up.
The thumbs up.
Thank you. Commissioner Tavaloni.
Aye.
Chair Norton.
Aye.
Chair, the motion is approved.
Great. And with that, we are going to take a small break and come back at 3 o'clock when we will come back to item 13 and then move on with the rest of the agenda. Thank you very much. We'll be back.